There's the chance that we'll be joined by others, and we have some members of senior staff on the news conference as well. And that is because of the subject matter we want to discuss. There's really three main areas that I want to give updates on. And I want to be respectful to the media's time, respectful to council's time. So the subject matter that has kind of brought council into this news conference, I'm going to save that for the third and final item, just because my sense is that news conference just might flow a little better that way in terms of questions and answers. So if everyone can just kind of bear with me while I go through the updates in the first two subject areas, eventually we'll get to the item that has brought us all together. And I think for maybe a sense of historical perspective, you may remember, the members of the media might remember a couple weeks ago, again, I've been having these weekly Thursday morning briefings, but then we came back on a Thursday afternoon to announce our $1 million micro enterprise loan program. And we felt that was important enough. And again, the logistics with council necessitated two news conferences that day. We're faced with a similar kind of announcement, and we pondered splitting it up and having two news conferences, but I just felt it made more sense to kind of do it all at once. So without further ado, let me go through some of these updates. And as always, at the end, members of the media will be able to answer questions and ask them to anyone who is on the call. I want to start with an update. Item one, category one, is going to be the update that we had promised. We've been promising this for about 10 days or 2 weeks on restaurants and taverns. And as the governor's stay-at-home order was due to expire May 29th, and there were corollary orders of our local health department that are due to expire on the 29th. We have always identified May 29th as the date that we would give more clarification on our local attempts to protect public safety while also doing everything we can creatively to allow businesses to try to get through this very difficult time. And so we're going to keep that commitment, and on schedule here one day early. We're going to announce what we have come up with in terms of this piece of the puzzle. And so there's a number of things we want to talk about. And if we're talking here really exclusively about restaurants and bars, obviously there are many other parts of the economy that are crucial, and a lot of different businesses are coming back in different ways and have been for a while, but there's been so much focus on restaurants and bars, frankly, that it's been in those establishments where we've seen some of the bigger problems, not just in Toledo, but around the state. As soon as the governor, loosened some of those restrictions, I think we also saw social media pictures from, the worst example was the one from Wisconsin, but even around our state, of folks kind of jammed together, not adhering to social distancing protocols. The governor set up that state strike force last weekend, and this is the area where we've seen some compliance problems, and so we want to focus there. Just from a sense of statistics, I referenced the governor's enforcement, the new enforcement team. They have been, they've logged 5 days of work for us. The long weekend last weekend meant that they started on the 21st and went through the 25th. As I mentioned at the antibodies news conference we had 2 days ago, on the very first day, the entire state of Ohio, unfortunately, the only citation that had to be given was given to a bar in Toledo. But now I have stats for all 5 days. In those 5 days, these state agents made 536 visits to 536 different establishments in the Toledo area. And I think generally speaking, the news is good. There were only 3 citations given in that entire time. Of all 536 visits, only 3 citations and 6 warnings. So, you know, this is going to take some getting used to, I think, for everyone. And I saw the comments in the media. The owner of the establishment on the first night sort of indicated that, oh, we don't know what the rules are. You know, how can we follow these rules and still, you know, have the kind of bar we want to have? You know, there is a aspect of living and learning as we get through this. So toward that end, and because there's so much scrutiny and so there have been some problems with bars and restaurants, that's where we want to start. Among the things we want to announce in this area, we've decided to extend the DORA it's going to be expanded from noon until midnight. And this, by the way, is all as of June 1st. So as of June 1st, the DORA is going to be extended until midnight. The additional things that I'm about to talk about will be different depending on whether or not you are in either the downtown outdoor refreshment area or the Village on Adams outdoor refreshment area. So in other words, the DORA or the ORA. And then if you are anywhere else in Toledo, downtown or uptown establishments that are either in the DORA or the ORA. Again, as I just mentioned, now it's going till midnight, so it's a couple extra hours. For those establishments, since they are included in those areas, they do not need to worry about applying to the Ohio Department of Liquor Control for the ability to have alcohol consumed outside their property, because again, they're in those special districts. They can, anytime they want, beginning today, set up tables and chairs in their parking lot. They can set up tables and chairs on a sidewalk. They must be mindful of ADA accessibility requirements and needs. Any blocking of any total blocking of the sidewalk in a way that prevents citizens from being able to move about is not going to be allowed. But provided you make those allowances today, businesses in the DORA and the ORA can set up tables and chairs in their parking lot, on the sidewalk, etc. That is our attempt to help them extend their footprint beyond the bricks and mortars operations so they can essentially get more business. They're going to need it in order to get through this. The live entertainment starting June 1st will be allowed in these establishments that had been prohibited for several months under the governor's order. Live entertainment is allowed. I want to make this distinction. There is nothing wrong with live music anywhere in any of these establishments, no matter where you're located, Point Place, East Toledo, DORA, or anywhere. The only issue that could arise would be what happens when you hear that music. If that music is simply background entertainment as you enjoy your meal or your drink, that's fine. But if that music compels you to run to the dance floor and start dancing, that's not okay. We can have live music now, again, starting June 1st, but this is not an invitation for dancing. I hate to sound like the mayor of Elmore City, Oklahoma, which would be a reference only for folks old enough to remember the movie Footloose. And I know that there are some Kevin Bacons out there who are going to be pushing it. But dance, I don't know how else to say it without making reference to it. Dancing still isn't allowed. I don't in the state. Live music is okay. Dancing is not. All right. So if you want to get some musicians or someone to play some music in the background to add to the ambiance of what you're trying to do, great. But people still have to be seated at a table or at a chair. They still have to be social distanced. There just can't be that congregating together. So that is a development, but it's still not an excuse to throw a block party. So that's an important update. The final part for the DORA, ORA establishments in the downtown or the uptown would be the ongoing conversation about blocking off streets. I think I can say that beginning not this Friday, but next Friday, June 6th, I hope I don't have that wrong, maybe that's a Saturday. June 6th is a Saturday. So starting next Saturday, June 6th, we will block off parts of a couple different streets in the DORA, ORA neighborhood. Don't want to announce just yet which streets they are or which sections of those streets, but they will be small blocks of a small number of streets in and around establishments that are important to the economic viability of the downtown and uptown restaurant and bar scene. We're obviously going to make that decision here in the next few days because June 6th, the new policy begins. And what we are going to see in the DORA and the ORA are that the parts of these three streets every Wednesday and Saturday, beginning on June 6th, you will see these small chunks of these streets blocked off to allow restaurants who will provide their own chairs and tables. City is not going to, provide picnic tables or anything like that. The bars and restaurants will be able to bring their own tables and chairs out into the street, where social distancing must be followed, where music is now allowed, but not, not anything beyond, sitting down and enjoying a meal or a drink in your friend's company. That's going to be every Wednesday and Saturday. Wednesdays, these streets will be blocked off from 5 until 10 p.m. And on Saturdays, it'll be noon until 10. The DORA will still go for two extra hours since we just extended it to midnight. But that's what we're going to see in the DORA and the ORA neighborhoods starting June 6th, every Wednesday and Saturday for the foreseeable future. There's not necessarily a deadline on this. We're, like so many things with the COVID crisis, we're going to see how it goes, for lack of a better phrase. If it's going well, I could envision us maybe looking to expand it at some point, or maybe we'll get to the point where we don't need it at all because we have a vaccine and the world truly goes back to normal. The convo is also true. Despite my jokes about Footloose in Elmore City, Oklahoma, if we see that us allowing streets to be blocked off is promoting a block party festival sort of atmosphere, we will we'll stop doing this. We will reopen those streets, and it will be a missed opportunity for these restaurants and bars, which is why I believe they will police this themselves pretty well. So that is going to be life in the DORA and the ORA for bars and restaurants. Then you have every other bar and restaurant in the city of Toledo, in Point Place, East Toledo, South End, everywhere. They too, beginning right now, can set up bars and tables in their parking lots. Tables and chairs in their parking lots, tables and chairs on their sidewalk. Again, they cannot do anything that would impede enforcement of the Americans with Disabilities Act, and we are going to be vigilant about that, but that is something that they can do today if they wanted to expand their footprint. For these establishments, however, there is an additional step needed because they are not in an outdoor refreshment area. The ability to serve alcohol will need an application to the Ohio Department of Liquor Control. That link is available on our website, obviously on their website. And when when they receive the permit from the Ohio Department of Liquor Control to do that, then they essentially would be able to operate in the same way that a bar or tavern in the DORA or the ORA would be able to. So there's an additional step if you're, I'm just using one example, if you are the distillery in the South End, or if you are the Beirut restaurant, sort of in West Toledo, there is this one additional step of having to go to the Ohio Department of Liquor Control, but it can be done, and we'll work with you to make it happen. Final question, final thing. Though there has not been as much clamor to close streets in non-downtown, uptown neighborhoods, we envision that theoretically there could be a desire for some restaurant establishment or bar to want to try to do that. In those cases, you would have to apply to the, again, if you're not in the DORA ORA, where we are thinking about 3 specific areas, and we're working with the restaurants to select them. If you are anywhere else, we're going to need an application from you. You're going to have to give us written plans and designs, and we'll take it on a case-by-case basis. Again, we're not going to be in a position to close a major thoroughfare, but if there's a side street kind of adjacent to your establishment, we could get creative. And so there's an opportunity there for you also. So I know that's a lot of information. We put a lot of time into it. I think there were some people who said, just waive their permits, let them do it. There's a lot of logistics that goes into this, but I think we have a plan that works for bars and restaurants, whether they're in the downtown, uptown, or wherever you are in the city of Toledo, to expand beyond your footprint. Frankly, you can do that today. And then to actually be able to serve alcohol is going to happen as well. That will be different depending on where you're located, and the opportunity and the, frankly, certainty of blocking off some small sections of roads to assist business is something we're going to do as well. We're going to give this a shot and see if it works. There's an awful lot of dealing with this crisis where it's, you're sort of, there's no on-the-job training or no playbook. We think this is going to work based on the experiences of other cities. We're going to evaluate it and see how it goes. So these, the extension of the DORA and the removal of the ban on live music, that's June 1st. The putting up the tables and the chairs, that can happen anytime. Essentially, what we're doing when it comes to everything I just talked about, we are suspending the permits that are normally required to set up tables and chairs in your parking lot and things like that. So logistically, that is what is happening here. I know there may be questions about that, but I'm going to save those for the end. That is the first subject that I wanted to update the media on today. Secondly, I want to say some things about recreation programming, especially youth programming. I know the media has been focused on this recently. I don't know if Dr. Adams has had a chance to join us. Unfortunately, she hasn't. This is what I'm about to talk about here was something I've talked to Dr. Cecilia Adams about. I don't know what happened, but she was going to be on the call here to help discuss this very subject matter. So I lament that something happened and she couldn't join us. She's the chair of City Council's Education and Recreation Committee. So this is not only a passion of hers, but relevant to her committee subject matter. We really just want to take, or I, if Dr. Adams can't be with us this morning, really just want to emphasize to children and families, as now we are earnestly in the summer months, that yes, there's a lot of stuff that we still can't do to protect public health. And it is heartbreaking that there are, the pools aren't open, and, the kids, who graduated weren't able to walk with their class and have the ceremony. There's an awful lot that we still can't do, and I get it. But there is still a bunch of stuff that we can do, and kids and families can do. And we really wanted to emphasize that today. And every week when I have these updates, we are going to emphasize different youth and rec programming options that exist so that people can take advantage of it. And so this is not an exhaustive list, but in the city of Toledo, this is our employees, our team, not the YMCA Boys and Girls Club. We'll get to that in a second. But our city operation, we've partnered with an organization called Athletes Global, and with their help in city parks this summer, we're going to offer programming for kids that, things like yoga, Zumba classes, self-defense classes, things that they call fun fitness, where, kids can get out and get the exercise they need, maybe burn off some steam. But they're also, doing, it's going to be fun. It's not going to be sort of drudgery. So there's a whole series of programs that we're going to be outlining through Athletes Global that are going to, even in the environment we're in, going to be opportunities for kids to get out and enjoy some programming. The city of Toledo, beginning on June 11th, is going to continue to do summer movie nights in the park. We are, social distancing is still going to be required. But if you go to our website, movies like Aladdin and The Wiz and Space Jam, a lot of other good family movies are going to be provided in our parks, and families are encouraged to, bring their chairs and their blankets and space out. And look, that's something you can do in a city park and enjoy it. We've been cooped up for an awful long time. We want to emphasize that there's going to be stuff for us to do here in the city of Toledo, especially kids, and we want to emphasize that. We're going to have a drive-in theater in partnership with the Children's Theater Workshop that will have live performances of live shows in our city parks, specifically 3 parks, Detweiler, Smith, and Highland Parks are going to feature this sort of entertainment where we're going to have kids doing live performances. It's going to have a drive-in movie feel. You can get out of your cars if you want to space out and enjoy these live performances on a blanket or on a chair. If you want to stay in your car, you can. We're even going to have those old-fashioned drive-in sort of transistor radio capability coming up to your car to try to allow you to enjoy these live shows that way. If anyone on this news conference is old enough to remember a drive-in movie theater and how they work, it's going to have that feel. Again, so we're trying, we're going to try some things here to allow people to try to enjoy their summer and have a somewhat normal summer. We're installing the Cullen Park boat launch dock this week. It is, people who have the ability to do it, we want to be able to get them out to enjoy the water, and the Cullen Park boat launch is a part of that. That's what the city of Toledo is doing, but we have partner organizations that just have a long list of youth-related activities. So go to Toledo.com, visit the website at the Museum of Art, Holy Toledo History Tour, Children's Theater Workshop, the Arts Commission of Greater Toledo. Now, a lot of these are going to be are still virtual. And the Museum of Art, they're doing a lot of some virtual things. The Arts Commission has a host of sort of interactive virtual opportunities. We have people, it sort of exists right under our nose, but we have a multi-million-dollar public art collection sprinkled throughout the city of Toledo in our city parks and public spaces. Now it's sort of there in plain sight. Maybe we don't always appreciate it as much. But maybe if we're not going to have baseball games and parades and fireworks and some of those things that we normally do, maybe you go to the Art Commission website and kind of download their interactive tour and go take a tour of some, of the millions of dollars of public art in our community. Things like that. The Toledo Ballet, University of Toledo Performing Arts Center, again, they're all hosting workshops, and Metro Parks Toledo, virtual camps, with Imagination Station, the zoo, virtual summer kids clubs. I mean, this is all still happening, I guess is the point we wanted to make, and we want folks to take advantage of it. There is still some in-person opportunities for activity. The YMCA of Greater Toledo, actually, they opened 2 of their locations this week. I believe next week, the rest of them are due to come back online, and they're going to offer, starting the 2nd week of June, Again, sports camps and clinics, basketball, volleyball, baseball, Boys and Girls Club. They're going to have virtual programming this year. Again, I don't want to linger on this point too much, and we're going to make it a point every week to emphasize different things that are coming online, but I don't want us, especially our kids, to lose sight of the fact that there's still an awful lot of activity and opportunity that we can do this year. We're going to have to get creative. We're going to have to get creative because of the situation we're facing. But we've put our heads together and kind of come up with some fun ideas, and we really just want to emphasize that. And I know Dr. Adams wanted to emphasize that as well. Thirdly and finally, and now I appreciate council and staff for bearing with me through those first two updates. Now I want to dive into an announcement that I felt it was important to have City Council join us for. And it is very similar to that Thursday where we announced that part of the over $4 million of COVID CDBG funding that we received from the federal government, part specifically $1 million, would go to a micro enterprise grant program to assist 200 businesses in receiving $5,000 grants. That the application window on that has closed. I think about 275 businesses applied, and we're really excited about the help that we're going to provide. City Council at its council meeting on Tuesday is going to be asked to pass. Essentially, it's going to be asked to accept this federal money. Formally, it has to accept it before we can spend it. And council is poised to do that on Tuesday. What we want to announce right now is our plans for some of the remainder of that money. Again, we already talked about the micro enterprise program. Here we are announcing a different program that will be a blend of both the COVID-19 CDBG pool of money and also COVID-19 Emergency Solutions Grant, ESG money. Essentially, we're going to take $1 million from each program. So $1 million from CDBG and $1 million from ESG, and create a $2 million emergency renters assistance fund. People can begin applying for this today. Again, council has to accept the money on Tuesday, but once it should stop the application process, and there are links on our website. The folks at Engage Toledo are prepared to start receiving these phone calls. People who are interested can start calling today to apply for this $2 million of emergency renter assistance. We contemplate that up to 750 individuals could apply for assistance of up to $2,500 each. The math isn't perfect. That doesn't add up exactly to $2 million. I think that might be 1.8 million, but it gets us close. Not everyone's going to apply for the full amount. We might get fewer applications, less, but roughly speaking, we're talking about 750 or so individuals receiving relief of up to about $2,500 for rental relief. Obviously, what the COVID crisis has been devastating to any one of a number of people and sectors, but it's been, I think we've seen people especially hard hit who are from low to moderate income families. Maybe they've been laid off, maybe they've had to apply for unemployment, and they find themselves having a hard time paying their rent. This is going to be a pool of money that we are going to make available to them to help them get through this tough time. We want to, the intent of this program is to help people who have specifically been harmed by the COVID crisis. So those who apply, part of the paperwork that's going to go into this will have to be some indication, some indication that it is the COVID crisis that caused their inability, to pay their landlord, to pay their rent. So whether it's a letter from their employer that says they've been laid off, whether it's an unemployment stub, regardless, there will be that kind of paperwork needed to make sure that this is the inability to pay your rent was caused by the COVID crisis. But once we clear those hurdles, provided you meet the low and moderate income guidelines that have been established in these parameters, we think this could be helpful to people. There are two particular partners that we want to emphasize that have stepped up to help in a meaningful way. NeighborWorks Toledo and Lutheran Social Services. Folks who are tenants right now, sort of they're an existing tenant, but they're struggling to pay their monthly rent. They are going to be directed toward NeighborWorks, whereas folks who are homeless or are unhoused for whatever reason, we're going to direct them toward Lutheran Social Services. But regardless, those are the two social service agencies we're working with. Folks, again, all of this is available not only on our website, but their websites. The team at Engage Toledo is prepared to start receiving calls, and they will then direct citizens to either NeighborWorks or Lutheran Social Services, depending on the needs. But we're excited here that we have an opportunity to try to help people get through a very tough time. There are some logistics that I could get into, and perhaps I will. I think I'm going to leave that either for the question and answer portion, or I know Roz Clemens is on the call. Maybe she can talk through that if the media has an interest. But what I really want to do here at this point is to pause, finally, after probably a half an hour of uninterrupted speaking, and invite City Council to come in and talk about this program, because we wouldn't be able to do this without the partnership with Council. They have been excellent in terms of working with us to create now essentially both programs, whether it was the micro enterprise small business program, which went fantastically well, and now the second program to put cash into the hands of folks who are struggling to pay their rent. We couldn't do this without Council, and so that's why I really wanted to make sure that Council had a chance to participate. So I know we have I think we have 8 members of Council with us. Unless others have joined, I see Councilman Riley, Delaney, Harper, Gaddis, Meldon, Ludeman, Comives, and Sykes. Certainly any one of them. And I mentioned earlier, Roz Clemens is with us, and she'll have the opportunity to speak on this if she would like, and if the media would like. I'm happy to turn this over really to any one of them who might want to say something. I think I might begin, and I don't mean to put you on the spot, Councilwoman Harper, but she chairs the Neighborhoods Committee that is probably most relevant to this discussion, and her committee oversees this pot of money. And so I would like to ask Councilwoman Yvonne Harper to make any comments she would like. And as I do so, even though it's a couple days early, in this socially distanced world we're in, we don't get to see each other as much. We don't bump into each other here in the office as much. So I don't know if I'm going to see her before Monday, but I'm going to wish her an early happy birthday because Monday is Councilwoman Harper's birthday, and I think she's turning 35. So she's just stepping into the prime of her life, and I hope she has a great birthday on Monday. And Yvonne, I'm going to hand it over to you.
Thank you. I'm cracking up laughing because you know my true age. But first, Mayor, this is a golden opportunity. This is something that we have never had in the history of City of Toledo. We are showing compassion. Individuals that have been harmed for this horrible disease, the city is stepping up, and we're doing exactly what we are supposed to do. And that's what we're doing. Mayor, and to the rest of my colleagues, I can't wait to vote for this. And those of you that are listening, please start the application process now. Don't wait. If you have the opportunity, get out there. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilwoman Harper. Are there any other members of Council who would like to make comments? I believe Councilman Tyrone Riley has indicated that he'd like to speak. And so, though I don't think you have a birthday on Monday, I'm still happy to see you and look forward to your comments, Councilman Riley.
No, I do not have a birthday on Monday, but I hope to be celebrating Ms. Harper's birthday on Monday with her, because I know it's going to be a big party. And we will practice social distancing at that celebration. But I think this is a good program to assist the residents and the citizens of Toledo that have been struggling with the payment of their mortgage, well, not so much their mortgage, but just making rental payments, whether it's a deposit, whether it's late fees or what have you. It's just an opportunity to provide them with assistance in a time when we're all trying to work together and come together to assist one another. As we stated, you know, we're working as a community, we're working together, we're trying to get through this together. And by providing this assistance for them, I think it's a very positive step. And I think it helps the community out tremendously. Thank the administration and the mayor for coming up with this great program to help the citizens of Toledo. Thank you.
Great, Councilman Riley, thank you. Councilman Rob Ludeman is next to make some comments.
Thank you, Mayor. First of all, my granddaughter Maggie's birthday is Monday, so she shares that with Councilwoman Harper, and I wish her a happy 8th birthday. And Mayor, I'm sorry to hear that Elaine and I won't be able to go dancing for a while, but I guess we'll just have to find activities otherwise. But 2 things on the microloans. Congratulations to you and to Brandon Selhorst and Sandy Spang for the great work on that. That helped 275 apparently small micro businesses. That's wonderful. And then on this issue, as a real estate agent and having been a landlord myself, this helps the tenants in a tremendous way, as well as a good number of landlords who are often working on a very tight budget and with the rent support that would be coming in from their tenants will not get into financial difficulty with their mortgages and that type of thing. So it does help in a way to stabilize that part of the real estate industry in Toledo. And I think it's a great example of how the city and the federal and state governments can all work together to get us all through this crisis. And I appreciate this announcement today very much. Thank you so much.
Great, thank you, Councilman Ludeman. I did not know June 1st was such a day full of so many birthdays. So I think it's good to know. Councilman Nick Comives wants to make some comments. Nick.
Thank you, Mayor, for the opportunity, and thanks to everybody for their hard work on this, in particular, Rosalind Clemens and the entire Department of Neighborhoods team and those folks in the administration who worked diligently to devise this very meaningful and very obviously timely plan to assist renters and landlords throughout our city. Neighborhoods are only going to be able to thrive and continue to get better if we can keep people in housing. And one of the ways that we'll be able to hopefully ensure that people are fairly allowed to stay in their homes is through a program that I don't recall if you mentioned, Mayor, but that will provide legal assistance to those individuals who might be facing eviction. During this time, far too many people are fearing job loss or have already lost their jobs and are unsure if they're going to be willing or able to feed their families or stay in their homes. And so the work that we're doing around food stability and housing security is crucial to families throughout Toledo. And part of that is being able to know your rights and understand the legal system when you're being faced with eviction. Far too many people show up to court and they are just left in the dark. You're not automatically given representation like you would if you were arrested for a criminal offense. So too many people need this type of assistance, and it's going to be truly a game changer for our city And I'm so thankful to all of those that have worked hard to bring it to light. So thank you so much. Happy birthday to all of those June 1st birthdays. Like Mayor said, I do miss seeing everybody on a daily basis, but it's really nice to know that such important work can continue even though we're not meeting in person. So thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Nick, and all members of council. Does not look as though there are any more comments from council, though if a member of council changes his or her mind and would like to speak, certainly let us know, we can do that. But seeing no other comments.
Mayor?
And, oh, actually, I'm sorry, Councilman Larry Sykes.
Yeah, Mayor, I do want to say something. I am just proud to be a part of an administration that is so progressive when it comes to instituting new programs in our community that helps the underserved and the less fortunate. Again, I find myself having to congratulate Mrs. Clemens for her work that she has done in the short period of time she's been here. She has put together some awesome programs. And I mean, these programs are some of the best programs I've seen in a long time. When we look at what we've done, not just the micro or the rent payment, but also ensuring that individuals' water would not be cut off or it would be turned back on. So I want to congratulate your administration and Mrs. Clemens for the fine work that you have done. And I think I got a shirt on that say I belong. I'm so proud to belong to an organization and administration and an elected official and a city that does this for its at-risk individuals. Thank you.
No, Councilman, thank you. And I echo everything you said about Roz. I mean, selfishly, one of the reasons we stole her away from the good people of Maryland was because she has a real talent in this area, and she has shown that talent her time here in Toledo. I think I want to open it up to questions from the media right now. As I do this, we're going to put up a graphic. We should be putting up a graphic right now of a little more information about the emergency rental assistance program that should be on the screen. And so as I throw it to questions, I guess I will end on a totally different topic, but I just want to invite all Toledoans to join me if they're interested, and certainly any media who would relish the visual of me getting stuck with a needle to join me over at UAW Local 12. Today, the American Red Cross is doing a blood drive to benefit our heroes, nurses, firefighters, police officers. I'm going to go over and give blood, I think, at 1 o'clock. And again, that's another example of stuff we can do to help one another. So American Red Cross blood drive, give if you can. With that, I'm going to open it to questions. I believe the first question is from Sean Haggerty at Channel 13.
Mayor, can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can.
I'll start with renter assistance first. I see that website that you have up there. Was there a phone number people can call to apply as well?
Well, yeah, they can call the City of Toledo's 936-2020 Engage Toledo line. That would be the easiest thing, and our staff is prepared to direct them to either NeighborWorks or Lutheran Social Services, depending on their situation. But yeah, they should call 936-2020. They could link to our website. More information and applications are available there. They could contact NeighborWorks or Lutheran Social Services directly, I suppose, but have them contact the City of Toledo as a portal, and then we can direct them where they need to go.
What sort of information do they need to show in the application that they're coronavirus affected?
Yep. I think I want to, at this point, especially because she didn't have a chance to speak and she's administering this program, I might ask Roz. Roz, if you maybe can jump in and answer that part of the question, I think that would be helpful.
Thank you, Mayor. Good morning, everybody. First, I want to just thank the council for their support for this important legislation. It really is not only timely, but it is really going to really plug a huge hole in what we're seeing as distress here in our economy. We've got 40% of our housing stock that's rental. We have, pre-COVID, we have a lot of our renters that were already paying 30% or more of their household income on rent. Now you hit with COVID, so we're really looking at just a huge impact, not only on tenants, but also on the landlords, the small landlords in the city that are now being impacted by the inability of folks to pay their rents. And it just generally speaks to the long-term preservation of our affordable housing in the city by making sure that these units can continue to be resilient after COVID. Now, in terms of the question of what you need to show, folks are going to be required to provide pay stubs, letters of termination, records of unemployment compensation, filing, etc., bank statements. So we are required, Mr. Haggerty, by HUD to really demonstrate not only need, but demonstrate that the household meets the low moderate income affordable standards, which are absolute threshold requirement of these funding. So it's going to be a rigorous process, and I want to thank our partners, NeighborWorks Toledo and Lutheran Social Services, that have stepped up and are going to be really working with us under the Department of Neighborhood's oversight to really take in the applications and do the eligibility reviews and ensure that the funding is really going to go to those that are needed. I want to just emphasize that the approved funding for the rental assistance is not going to go to the individuals. It will go directly to the landlords. And it's our way of ensuring that indeed the money flows the way it's supposed to flow. The period that this will cover is a successive 3 months period of assistance. Now we don't know, how long this COVID impacted economy is going to last, and we're hoping that HUD will come up with some additional guidelines to allow us to support folks for more than 3 months. But right now, the assistance is only going to be for 3 months, only going to be provided after rigorous analysis of the need, and will only be provided to the landlord.
Can I follow up with Roz while we have her there, Mayor, if you don't mind?
Absolutely, go ahead.
Roz, are these dollars for only folks that are in a subsidized house or a low income situation, or would they be available for anyone who's paying market rate?
They will be able for anyone who's paying market rate, but it would only be available to that individual if they meet the low moderate income guidelines. So it's not just folks that are in subsidized housing. In fact, if you have some form of federal subsidy, and HUD is very, very clear on this, they don't want duplication of benefits. If you have some sort of a federal subsidy, like a housing choice voucher, you will not be eligible for this program. It is for folks that really have no other subsidy, that have fallen through the cracks and meet the income guidelines, and have been impacted by COVID. This program is designed to assist those individuals.
Thank you both.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Okay, Sean, did you have a question on another topic, or was that it?
Yeah, I was going to ask you about outdoor dining, but do you want to do all of the housing stuff first while she's here, while Roz is here?
I think Roz will stay as long as necessary.
Thank you. On outdoor dining, if you have an establishment that does not want to do alcohol outside in other parts of the city, West Toledo, South Toledo, if they don't want to do alcohol, do they have to go through liquor control, or can they put up the tables and chairs starting on the 1st?
They do not have to go through liquor control, and they can put up tables and chairs actually today.
Okay.
So I'm just using an example here, and I shouldn't speak for them, but I mentioned earlier the Beirut. Now the Beirut provides alcohol, and they probably would want to sell alcohol, but let's say they didn't. Let's say they just wanted to, have dinner. I use them as an example because they have a perfect little parking lot right next to their business that they own. If they wanted to today, they could put up tables and chairs in that parking lot. Don't need any permit or anything from anyone. They can do it today. Now, today, they would just be able to serve food, but they can do that today. If they want to serve alcohol, because they're not in a DORA and a NORA, they would have to go to the Department of Liquor Control. Now, if they wanted a tent or something like that, you still have to get a permit for that. But merely tables and chairs, they could do that today.
Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, great. Next question, I think, is from Amy at channel 11.
Hi, Mayor. Question, I had reached out the last time we talked about this and they were kind of still working out. I'm wondering what the conversations with TPD and TFD have been like for, these street closures. How is that safely going to be managed? Yeah, no, those questions are real. I suppose for locations not in the DORA and the ORA, and again, that is 99.99% of the square footage of our city. We're going to handle those on an as needed application by application basis. We don't know how many we're going to get. We may get 0. We may get a lot. So it's hard to sort of forecast what kind of questions or concerns we may have, not knowing who, if anyone's going to want to take advantage of that. Rest assured, the police and fire will be at the table in helping us determine whether an applicant's request will go forward. Moving to the specific case then of just the DORA and the ORA, because here we kind of do know where we're talking about. We're not quite ready to announce it, but generally speaking, there are parts of 3 different streets, and we can almost guess which ones they may be based on where the clusters of restaurants are in the uptown and the downtown area. There we do kind of have an idea of which roads are likely to be closed. And so police and fire have begun to review that. Actually, just this morning, we both Chief Krull and Chief Byrd sent a list of sort of follow-up questions for us about information that they would want before they felt comfortable with this. And we're gonna make it happen. Their questions are all answerable and understandable. Questions like, okay, are these roads going to be permanently blocked with sort of cement barricades, or are they, are we talking about movable kind of sawhorses? And I think actually the answer to that is going to be the latter. Their concern is, in the case of an emergency, will our crews be able to, push these barricades aside and still be able to provide emergency service to people? And the answer is yes. So yeah, they have legitimate questions. There could be some issues pertaining to the construction work that's going to be happening on Summit Street. We have to be mindful of. We're working through that, but we're going to be able to make it happen. They have reasonable questions about access, whether we're talking about totally blocking the entire street. Is there going to be a lane available for emergency services? We'll work that through. We'll have that all figured out by June 6th, because that's the first day that we're going to make that available to the businesses in the DORA and the ORA. None of their questions were deal breakers, in other words. They were just simple, understandable, logistical. Who's putting up the barricades? When are they coming down? Whose responsibility is that? We'll work through that. This next question is from Sophia at channel 24.
Hi, can you hear me? Okay.
Yes.
So for renters applying for relief, what is that timeline like? When can they expect to know if they are receiving that relief, with June 1st just around the corner? And for those that aren't going to receive that relief, they might have to hustle to get other means for rent. So when can they expect that answer? Roz,
I'm hoping you haven't left the call. If you have, I can
dig through my notes and try to find the answer, but you might know it off the top of your head.
Okay, I'm trying to start my video. Okay. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, yes.
Okay, well, we are Sophia, the website will be open as of today. And we're hoping that we're working with finance now to really set up everything with the grants and with our providers. We're hoping from the time someone actually applies and submits all of the documentation, the sort of flow chart that we've worked out with NeighborWorks and Lutheran Social Services, we're hoping for a maximum 2-week processing time for that process to be completed and the checks sent out to the landlords. So that's our goal, really.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right, thank you. So it looks like we have 2 more questions from the media, though there may be other questions that are added. Jaden has a question. Jaden, how are you doing? This is the first time you've joined one of our news conferences. Are you holding up okay?
I am holding up great. I am my last week of remote learning.
Okay. Well, learning is a lifelong thing. There's no deadline. You can always learn throughout your whole life. But I'm glad that you're doing well.
Thank you.
So what's your question?
So you mentioned that some entertainment will begin to start. So what will be the consequences of a lack of physical distancing?
The consequences for a lack of physical distancing are the same, whether that lack of distancing is caused by live music or not. Regardless of what causes a lack of distancing, I think it begins with a citation, but it pretty quickly can escalate all the way up into closure of that business. Now, again, we don't want to do that. We don't want any of this to be happening. We're really, the mission here isn't to be, sort of poking our nose into the affairs of businesses, telling them how to do their job. No, we're just trying to enforce the governor's orders, and we're trying to protect public health. And so any restaurant or bar owner that is in good faith trying to work with us, we're going to be able to work with you. We're going to figure something out. We're not going to be able to work with anyone who, is sort of willingly flaunting, non-compliance. So, I said this on another call, and I don't know if it's a great example or not, but there was a famous Supreme Court case 50 years ago where the Supreme Court was asked to define obscenity. That was the crux of the case. What is, someone was accused of, I don't know what it was, but well, this is obscene. All right, well, it made it all the way up to the Supreme Court. Supreme Court, you have the brightest legal minds in the country. They all went to Yale and Harvard, and these are the top legal minds in our country. And the justice who wrote the opinion, a guy named Potter Stewart, had a great line. He said, "You know what? I cannot define obscenity, but I know it when I see it." And that was the brightest legal mind in our country could come up with. Maybe it's not a great example, but in a similar fashion, when it comes to social distancing and violating social distancing, look, we're not going to be running out with a tape measure, making sure that you're only 5 feet and 7 inches away. No, we're not going to do that. But you know what? We know it when we see it. If we see a couple people standing up, okay, all right. But if we see 80 people jammed together, shoulder to shoulder, we'll know that too. We'll know it when we see it. It's not a well-defined legal doctrine, but that's how we're going to approach this. Most people, I think, want to do the right thing, and we're going to help them try to do the right thing. But the consequences for not doing the right thing could be pretty severe, depending on your willingness to comply and things of that nature. So I know it's not a great answer, but that's how we're going to approach it. Look, we're going to be able to start doing things here. You know, restaurants can be open now. Even you can even go into a restaurant. It's not just takeout. You can go in. You can have alcohol, and there are going to be some places that you can even have that alcohol outside. Now we can have live music. I mean, there's more things we can do. But at the end of the day, what we're trying to avoid are large gatherings of people. And so anything that looks like a large gathering is going to be a problem. So I joked earlier about the movie Footloose. Trust me, Jaden, there was once a movie named Footloose. It was not a silent film from the 1920s, you know, but it was a film about a city in Oklahoma where they didn't allow dancing. I don't mean to joke about that, but that's just an example of what I'm talking about. Music's fine, but you got to be sitting at a table or at a chair. We don't want people up getting close to each other. And that's how we're going to approach it. All right, is that it for Jaden? Okay, Sean Haggerty came back, has another question. Sean.
Yes, sir. One thing on timing for restaurants. So downtown restaurants and uptown can do the outdoor dining now. Is that correct?
Yes, they can. Anyone can do the outdoor dining now.
Okay.
Anyone.
And how long do you foresee that going?
My attitude right now, and I know it's not a perfect standard, but I would say for the foreseeable future. It can't be any more specific than that. You know, this isn't like, 60 days or 90 days. My attitude is, and maybe if this is wrong, you can criticize me. This is just the approach. We're going to do this. We're going to see how it goes. We're going to see if it's working. We're going to see what compliance looks like. If there's a sense that this has caused more problems than it's worth, again, if it looks like that every Wednesday and Saturday night in the DORA, a block party is breaking out, that's not good. And we will change our policy to correct that. But generally speaking, just like anything else in life, we're going to reevaluate the situation and potentially make changes as the facts warrant. But I would say for the foreseeable future, next several weeks, next several months, that this is going to be our reality. So in the DORA and the ORA, Wednesdays and Saturdays for the foreseeable future, you're going to see some streets blocked out, and hopefully, people out enjoying the weather and each other's company. And again, we're just trying to help these businesses survive. I don't know if we're going to end this in August or I don't know. I don't know yet. But I think that's okay. I think I want to give this a chance to work. I want to analyze how it's working, get feedback from people, and we'll make adjustments as it's warranted. But there is no end date to this. We're gonna see how it goes and see what's happening, with testing and the vaccine and everything else in the country. So much uncertainty. I don't want to pin us down on an end date. We're gonna take a wait and see approach.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I think there are no more questions. I really appreciate everyone's time. I know this was logistically a little different, trying to get council in and Roz and the media and a lot of different subject matters. So thank you, everyone. I really appreciate it. And I hope you have an excellent rest of the day and that everyone stays safe and healthy. Thank you.